Hi guys, welcome again. And in this module, I will introduce you to the activity diagram. Now, activity diagrams are basically used to model flow between different component of the object-oriented system. You can see that in this order processing. I will come to that very soon. But before that, you need to know that activity diagrams are used to illustrate where functionality exists in your system and how the functionality coordinated with functionality of the other pieces of your system. Okay, now this will be used to meet the business requirement that you modeled earlier using the use case diagram. So in the last section we have seen that how we will be modeling the use case diagram. In this particular case we will be going to the next level where we will be defining the activity diagram based on the use case diagram, right? Now activity diagram provides you a lot of description of a system by providing that what are the next steps in analyzing the system, and it can start from the use case diagram and it will go in deep of that use case diagram, right? Now an activity diagrams also allows you to read and see the system execution, how it changes the direction based upon different condition. In this way you will be able to also understand that they are used to model the workflow for some use cases, right? Now in a nutshell, if you have to define the activity diagram, then you have to basically remember that it is nothing but a type of UML diagram that represents the workflow or the process, showing the sequence of activity carried out and the condition that coordinate the flow from activity to another activity, right? It is mainly used to model the dynamic aspects of the system. That is what you need to remember. Now why we model activity diagram, then I have to say a lot of other things. Now we model activity diagram for several reasons. Now one can be visualization, the other one is analysis and improvement, the communication, the documentation, and many other things. I will come to that step by step. But in general, you can see if you are looking into this as an order processing system, what is that you are visualizing here? Now you can see, okay, a request, a order has been received from a starting point, and then that order is getting fulfilled. If the order is rejected, it will go somewhere. If the order is not rejected or accepted, it will start filling the order, and it will come to a joining section. Now this forks and joins is something I will explain shortly. And then there are certain actions like send invoice, ship order, everything is happening, and then finally you are closing this order. So basically it is a sequence of activity that you are following. We will come back to the use case what we were following, the student course and instructor thing, shortly after this section. But first of all, we need to know what are the basic components that is used and why we are modeling the activity diagram. So I think you got that visualization is the key aspects again for this kind of diagrams, and for any kind of analysis and improvement if you want to do for a system, the activity diagram will be very important. Now let us talk about the notational component of activity diagram. Now what are the notational component in this particular section? You can see that there is a start and there is a receive order. Now this is what you will be using to represent a start node. Now what is that start node? It is definitely filled with a circle which is dark, right? And this denotes the start. Similarly, there is an end node, and what is that end node? It is again represented with the filled circle with a border, and it denotes the end of the process, right? Activity, whenever you are dragging this, whenever you are dragging this kind of things, these are talking about activity. This is receive order is one activity, right? Similarly, so I am just deleting this one. Similarly, whenever you want to represent a particular activity, you need to drag that, and it is represented by a rounded rectangle, and what it denotes is it denotes an action or operation. Okay, So we have learned activity, a start node, and an end node. Now, what is a decision node? Can you see a decision node in this particular diagram? So this is the decision node. Okay. Now, what is a decision node? It is represented by a diamond, and it is used to bring together different branches, whether it is order is accepted or the order is rejected. If the order is accepted, do this thing. If the order is rejected, then do this thing. So that is why the decision nodes in an activity diagrams are very, very important. There can be merge node also. Now, merge nodes are again can be represented by a diamond, where you are merging two or three processes together and bringing different branches and start working. Now here, unless this payment has been accepted and the order has been shipped, you cannot fulfill the order, right? So that is what it is representing. Then there are fork and join nodes. This is fork. Now fork and join nodes both are represented by a horizontal or a vertical bar, and they are used to represent the parallel activity, right? So that is what you need to remember when you are doing, from the notational components viewpoint of activity diagram. This is something you need to remember. Okay, just only one thing is different from fork and join, and that is what you need to be little bit clear about. That is, fork allows, this is a fork, right? Now fork allow parallel process to begin, and join allow parallel process to catch up. Here is the join, right? It is allowing the parallel process to catch up at a certain point. So when a fork is encountered, this is the fork. When a fork is encountered with an activity diagram, each branch of the fork, like send invoice and ship order, it's it is a separate kind of activity. And they're not dependent on each other. But unless both is completed, you cannot go to the join, and join will not really give you the next process to occur. So both fork and join are represented in the same way, but when you are drawing it, you just need to remember where you are branching it out and where you are joining it out. Okay, so that is what I will tell you need to remember from fork and join viewpoint. And conditions, as I said, you are used in the decision node to determine the flow of the process based on the certain criteria, and they are definitely represented as a labeled arrow emerging from the decision node. So this is the arrow which is emerging from the decision node, and this is the arrow that is emerging from the same decision node and going into a different line of activity. Okay, so this is what you remember. Other than that, one more concept is very important in activity diagram, that is swim lanes. What is swim lane? Now here you can't see the swim lanes. I will shortly draw the swim lanes and show you. But remember, they are used to group the activities. If you want to put a swim lane over here, and then you want to put a swim lane over here, and separate this activity, and this activity as three different lanes or swim lanes, so that you know that the activities that are performed by the same actor or different actor or a component or not, is that you will be able to understand from this swim lanes. Okay, so swim lanes are also very important. Then from the advanced viewpoint of activity diagram, swim lanes are used. Then there can be sub activities. What is a sub activity? They are used to encapsulate the sequence of activity into a single activity, similar to what you have seen here. This is a sub activity, this is another sub activity, and then finally you are joining. It is forking here, where you are having parallel activity, and then finally it is joining here. The signals, they are represented as asynchronous communication between the active object. So that is what you need to remember. And there will be object node, they represents object used or produced by the activities. Any kind of activity that is producing or representing an object is known as object nodes. Okay, now let me quickly close this and create a new activity diagram so that we all are in the same understanding. Okay, I will just close this. I don't want to save this project at the moment. Now I will again click. Depending upon the tools you are using, you will get activity diagram. I will be creating a blank activity diagram, and I will close this, and we will start an activity diagram based on the same use case, student, course and instructor, and I will tell you step by step how to design an activity diagram. Okay, so let's move to the next section and start drawing the activity diagram in using the student, course and instructor.